Hey people, it is Wednesday, June the 29th. The time is 11:58 in the morning. Temperature is currently 17 degrees Celsius. And it's overcast and raining off and on with a chance of thunderstorms. And I just got caught in the rain a little while ago, but it stopped in rather short order. And I do have my umbrella, so I'm ready for another sudden downpour if that comes to pass. And I'm walking here along Eglinton Ave East, just in between Mount Pleasant Road and Bayview Avenue, and I'm heading towards Bayview Avenue, where I will be turning south and taking a walk down through the retail strip along Bayview Avenue in the Leaside neighborhood. So this end of Eglinton Avenue East is made up mostly of high-density residential buildings. With a little bit of retail mixed in here and there. And off to the west there you can see the towers at Yonge and Eglinton. And of course the ever-present neighborhood Gabby's. Every neighborhood in Toronto has a Gabby's, which I've pointed out in previous videos. So most of these apartment buildings here date from the 1950s through the 60s and 70s. And then there are a few more recent additions that have sprouted up in the last few years, such as this one right up ahead here. You can see the contrast between the boxy slab style, or commie block apartments as they're jokingly referred to, which went up mostly in the 60s and 70s, and then the newer wave of residential buildings, which usually have a much more glassy look to them, although this one is not all that bad. It has a little bit of texture to it. But in the main intersection around Yonge and Eglinton, you can see the contrast between all the new towers that have gone up in the last 10 years and all the apartment blocks from the 60s and 70s. So the retail strip along Bayview Avenue is quite nice. It's very similar to Mount Pleasant Village on Mount Pleasant Road. Sort of an upscale little strip of shops and restaurants. The surrounding neighborhood is fairly wealthy. And it sort of acts as the main retail strip for that part of the Leaside area. And Leaside is in the former borough of East York. The other main old commercial strip in East York, I would say, is Pape Village. But that's some distance away, across the Don Valley. There's also another little retail strip, the north end of Coxwell Avenue in East York. I think that's called Old East York Village or something along those lines. And hey, I found Cleveland Street. I always take note whenever I find a street named after another major city. I wonder if Cleveland has a Toronto street. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm sure it most likely does. And off in the distance there, you can see a very tall tower under construction. This is a building of medical offices. And it looks like some high-rise density will be replacing some of these old homes here. 23-story building. And that one is a doctor's office. Maybe they'll get a new spot at the base of the building. And Bayview Avenue is just a block and a half up ahead. The usual construction chaos here along Eglinton Avenue as part of the Line 5 Eglinton Crosstown. It's a rapid transit line running mostly underground, but it does come up onto the surface on the more eastern end of its route. And believe it or not, that's slated to be open by the end of the year. Although I have a feeling it won't make that deadline. So here we are, Bayview Avenue. So let's start heading south here. Make our way towards the commercial strip. And the sun is coming out. I was wondering if I'd get to record a thunderstorm video during this outing, but it doesn't look like that will happen. I've yet to find myself in a thunderstorm while recording. It's always kind of fun, as long as you're ready for it. And this time I was ready for it, and it didn't come. And it looks like these old homes here are also slated to be replaced with a 9-story residential building. These are solid, nice looking old homes here too. Looks like this entire row of houses will be coming down. This is a rather long residential building. 9 stories high, but longer than it is high. And here's the beginnings of the retail strip. So, welcome to Bayview Leaside. I don't think this strip is quite as extensive as the one on Mount Pleasant Road. But it looks very, very similar, and the types of shops and restaurants are also very comparable. I think Mount Pleasant Road might have a bit more of a sort of neighborhood main street feel to it, just a little bit more bustling perhaps. More sidewalk cafes and things of that nature. Toronto has so many of these little commercial strips all throughout the old part of the city. And they're all kind of unique in their own way, even if they can be similar to one another, such as this in Mount Pleasant Village. But even along the same street, the character of the retail strip can change quite dramatically as you move along from one area to the next. Along Bloor Street, for example, Bloor West Village is very different than Bloor Court or Bloor Dale, which is very different from the Annex or Koreatown, and they're all along the same street. Same with Gerrard, where you have East Chinatown and Little India. That's a nice old school sounding corner store name. Bayview Jug Milk. And they got a few sidewalk cafes set up here. The sidewalks here are quite wide. They can actually put the tables on the sidewalk and still have enough room left to allow people to pass by. I think on Mount Pleasant Road, the sidewalk patios are right on the street itself as part of Cafe TO. So I don't think the sidewalks are quite as wide. Like here, they're actually very wide. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is just as neighborhoody feeling as Mount Pleasant Village. Sort of like a small town main street. It's been a while since I've walked through here.
They have like a lot of stores.
It looks like that Shoppers Drug Mart used to be a movie theater. Fruit market. I think that's one thing that I did notice is a bit lacking in this area along both Mount Pleasant Road and here on Bayview, where these street side fruit stands where the fruit is all piled out onto the sidewalk. Those are quite common in some other neighborhoods, but not so much here. And this one is an enclosed patio here. It's feeling a bit muggy now, actually.
What are you doing? What do you need?
Yeah, a very, very pleasant little area here. Got Montreal style bagels. A number of cigar shops, I think I've noticed. And here's the neighborhood grocery store, a Value Mart. I don't have a Value Mart in my area downtown, or anywhere really in the whole downtown area. I can't think of a Value Mart location. coming out of the retail area. And it looks like another long 9-story building will be going on this lot. I wonder if it will replace the Value Mart. No, by the looks of it, the Value Mart will remain. So that's pretty much it for Bayview Leaside. Could call it downtown Leaside, perhaps. So I'm going to start making my way west once again. I'm on Davisville Avenue now. So this is a residential street. I think it'll stay mainly residential all the way over to Yonge Street. Just take a look at some of the homes in the area. As I mentioned, this is a bit of an upscale neighborhood. Even modest looking houses will run in the millions.
Exactly. I don't get many letters from my boys at camp anymore.
You might get a postcard for
That would make me really
You
happy.
might get one by accident.
Yeah, exactly. I'll make sure I deliver them. All right, have a lot.
And an old low-rise walk-up apartment building. Looking a little bit out of place on this street. Further up ahead, though, Davisville Avenue does become a rather high-density apartment corridor with many tall apartment buildings between Mount Pleasant Road and Yonge Street. Seems to be a mixture of semi-detached and fully detached houses here, with a few small apartment buildings and even the odd row house, which is a bit unusual for this part of the city. Here's an old row house. Closer to downtown, of course, row houses are commonplace. And look, I've come across Cleveland Street again. I wasn't expecting that to happen. That's an interesting building on the corner. I wonder if that used to be a commercial building, like a corner store or something of that sort. And Cleveland Street seems like a windy sort of street. Sort of beckons you to explore it, the way it curves around the bend like that. And I'm rather enjoying this part of the walk more than I thought I would. Sometimes it's nice just to get off of the commercial streets and walk along a nice shady tree-lined residential street. Even though this one does have quite a lot of traffic, Davisville Avenue being a fairly major street in the neighborhood. There's the Bayview bus that will go all the way up to Steeles Avenue, the very northern border of the city. And I think we're getting close to Mount Pleasant Road. I won't look down. Saw a poor little squirrel that met his maker. Here's another one of these old walk-up apartment buildings. And here's the local school. Hodgson MS Elementary. I'm not sure what the MS stands for. Sort of an old classic looking school building. Brings to mind Roger Hodgson, one of the vocalists in Supertramp. That was quite the long haul between Bayview Avenue and Mount Pleasant Road. Got like a forest in front of this old row house here. And Mount Pleasant Road. And there you can see the young Eglinton skyscraper cluster. Again, we've doubled back farther than the point where we began. In the westerly direction, that is. So that will take you up into Mount Pleasant Village, the other retail strip in the neighborhood. And of course, Yonge Street, just to the west, also has a very busy retail strip in this area. So there's no shortage of shops and restaurants and places to hang out for anyone who lives in this part of the city. Not to mention Yonge and Eglinton over there is like almost like another downtown in itself. So now we're in what would be considered Midtown at this point, no longer in Leaside. And as I mentioned, here's where Davisville transitions into more of a high-density, high-rise neighborhood with many of these old buildings dating back to the 1960s. Once the Yonge subway line went north up to Eglinton, high-density development followed. And the original stretch of the Yonge subway was from Union Station up to Eglinton. That was completed, I think, in 1954. And as far as I know, I've never recorded a video along this part of Davisville Avenue. So, first time for everything. And we still have some of the old homes here on this side of the street. Wonder how they felt when all of the homes across the street were razed and replaced with these huge towers. They previously resembled the stretch of Davisville back to the east that I walked through. Look at this house set so back, or so far back from the street. Kind of curious. And since we're so close to Yonge Street, I might as well keep it going, and we'll wrap things up once I get to Yonge Street. You can see my battery is getting very close to the end. Here's a Salvation Army retirement residence. And Yonge Street right up ahead. And I found another school. Davisville Junior Public School and Spectrum Alternative Senior School. Elementary. That's kind of a strange combination of of words there. Congrats, class of 2022. And we finally made it over to Yonge Street. I have to say, looking on a map, the stretch between Bayview Avenue and Yonge Street, it looks like a fair distance, but not what you would think it would be to walk. It felt much longer to walk than it did to imagine walking that distance while looking at the map. And I spy the CN Tower. So right here is Davisville Subway Station. This is the TTC head office. And there's the way into the head office. And I want southbound. Let's take a look around. Oh, let's go the other way. That's an up escalator. I think this is my first time ever entering Davisville subway station from the street. So I'm going to start to wrap things up here as my train comes in. Hope you enjoyed the walk through Bayview Leaside, the main street of the Leaside neighborhood along Bayview Avenue. And then we made our way all the way down Davisville Avenue to Yonge Street here, getting on the train at Davisville subway station.
Please stand clear of the doors.
So leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also make sure you hit that notification bell, that way you won't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal, via my merch store, and also via the recently enabled Super Thanks button right down below. And finally, you can find me on Instagram under KContinuum. So thanks for watching, and be sure to keep checking back, because, as always, we will continue.